which side has the biggest morale is something that is often decisive when it comes to human conflict. This is true since medieval times. Even if you happen to have the largest army, the side with the highest morale has a major advantage because the largest army can just rout. So this is true today as well, which is why when you have a conflict, the mainstream media becomes an apparatus of trying to raise the morale of the troops. This has been true since World War One all the way up until today. The mainstream media is going to avoid talking about subjects which are unfavorable for its side, and they're going to promote the ones that are favorable. They may even exaggerate sometimes, like the Ghost of Kiev and other things. It is expected. Again, this is not new. It happened throughout every single conflict. And this is why it's called the fog of war. It's very difficult to tell what's happening due to the mainstream media trying to keep morale up for the soldiers that are fighting. So obviously the Western media is siding with Ukraine, and then you have the Russian media and its allies siding with Russia. If there was a country that was neutral and had reporters on the ground, things would have been different. But in this particular conflict, we don't have that, which is why I try not to cover it, because it creates the fog of war situation where it's, well, this is what our side says, this is what their side says, so their side is evil, they must be wrong. Every now and then, however, you do have certain events where both sides agree, and you can be very certain that those are true. And then, you can look at the situation on the ground. You can look at other things like the actions that are taken by the leaders. So, for example, when I saw that Ukraine was refusing to sue for peace, it was refusing a ceasefire, then it meant that it was very confident with the situation on the ground, and chances for an imminent Russian victory were very low, which turns out that I was right. So where am I going with this? Well, as I said, I usually do not want to talk about this conflict, but recently I have seen something of monumental stupidity which makes me want to discuss it. You see, there was a picture with Zelensky standing alone, and everyone was saying, so the West has abandoned Zelensky. I mean, it's very interesting that you can assess an event from a picture, especially when there seem to be other pictures where the world leaders are talking to him and they're in a very friendly manner. I thought that most people that have two neurons to rub together would just look at one picture and then assess a statement. I mean, you can just have a speech, you can look at a YouTube video and you can pause the YouTube video in certain moments and you can see a person in a very uncharacteristic or comically position. But that doesn't necessarily make them a buffoon. The media does this all the time. Like, I remember with Boris Johnson and with Trump, like, they would just take a picture that makes them look ridiculous in order to try to editorialize and push a certain emotion on the people. This is literally the same. This is manipulating people by showing the picture that they want to see in order to suggest that this is the case, that the world leaders have abandoned Zelensky. I guess this is due to the fact that Ukraine wasn't allowed into NATO, which is something that everyone expected. I mean, I expected it. I also expected that Zelensky would try to get Ukraine into NATO because, well, his country is already in war, so, it's a Hail Mary. If he would get more allies, I mean, it's up to his responsibility to attempt it. But I'm very sure that even he expected that it's not going to work, because this would actually drag the entire world into World War III. That's what it would mean, right? Like, if you look at NATO, it's a defensive alliance. It's a defensive pact. So if you were to get a country that's already into military conflict within the alliance, it would force all the other members to go to war. And obviously no one wants that, I mean, I'm looking at what most people are saying in various interviews or behind closed doors, and it does seem that the situation in Ukraine is going to be a very long war conflict. It's probably going to be one of those forever wars. And unfortunately, for the cynically minded individuals, it can be very profitable. There was an interview by Project Veritas with a person working at BlackRock, which explained how it is profitable. Like, for example, if you hear that the Russians have destroyed a silo of grain, Well, immediately, if you have that knowledge and you have a lot of money, you can purchase a lot of grain for cheap, knowing that in the future the price is going to go up. So you can make a lot of money by doing this. Weapons manufacturers can sell, like there's various things that people can do in order to profit out of this situation. It is very cynical, horrible. But yes, all those companies that are sporting the rainbow flag and they're very tolerant and empathetic, if they can make some profit, they will. So there is no interest in escalating this. The current interest where it's at is advantageous for the cynically minded people that want to make profits. A nuclear war would not be profitable for anyone. Not to mention, like, an escalation would not necessarily be profitable for anyone. So this is why I do not expect that Ukraine would have been even allowed to go into NATO. Especially since many other countries, again, like they have other agendas, they have other interests, they do not want to go to war with Russia. And it's also the unpredictability. I mean, Russia still has nukes, other countries have nukes, no one wants to see what a nuclear warfare would look like. We already know what modern warfare looks like, and it's very ghastly. I do not know the exact number of losses on Ukraine and Russia, but they're probably staggeringly high. It seems that a similar situation to what existed in World War I is happening now, and that is that modern warfare is very advantageous for the defender. It's very difficult for the attacker. And this is pretty much what happened up until now, right? So when Russia was the attacker, they suffered severe casualties, and now that Ukraine is trying to take back territories, it's encountering difficulties in doing so, which leads me to assume that yes, being the defender is a lot more advantageous. Very similar situation to World War I, and anyone that studied history knows that it was a meat grinder. So I do not expect this to end anytime soon. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but hopefully, maybe something will happen. Maybe they will sue for peace. Undoubtedly, because both sides have no interest in this. Like, if Russia were to sue for peace, immediately the government would fall, and there would be a lot of difficult questions that the people at the top would have to answer, so they're probably not interested in that. And, well, we saw the interview with BlackRock, and we know what was said over there. For those of you that have seen it. I don't think it's Project Veritas anymore. It's O'Keefe's, I think. O'Keefe's. Yeah, the hidden camera stuff. Interesting how you don't see hidden camera stuff from CNN, MSNBC, Isn't it fascinating? Like, I love seeing hidden camera stuff. It's interesting to see what people think behind closed doors. But anyway, right, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.